now. We're back.
Yes, and to none other than a bed.
Yeah, I know this looks like Scenes from a Marriage, the Ingmar Bergman film, but no, this is just how our podcast looks like if you're watching this, which you should try to watch this, and you can watch this by becoming a VIP Patreon member, by the way. Click the link below, and you'll see how to do that. Yeah, so we're back. I'm your host, Kevin. This is my wife,
Aileen.
And thanks for joining us today on Briterion Bollection Films.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't done one together in a while.
No, we could just never find the right time. It was either I was really busy or whatever other kind of circumstance would suddenly pop up. But we're finally making the time.
Yeah. Well, you got sick too, right?
Yes, that definitely did not help. Which, for those of you who don't know, I get sick quite often. And,
yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, and it usually I blame work.
Mm-hmm.
It's either kids or other people who don't mind spreading their germs onto others.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I also work in the educational field. I'll leave it at that. And my first year working in that, I got sick as fuck. It was like just months of sick. It was just like months of having a cold. You know what I mean? Like yes. I knew I wasn't like deathly ill or anything like that. But it was just like once like January hit, like I was just sick for like 4 months straight.
I do remember that. Yes, I remember that first year was really hard for him. I remember that we even went to Coachella that year, and I don't know how we managed to stay the whole weekend with him being really sick. Like, he just had the worst cold.
Yeah, it's fucking horrible. But yeah, so you were sick, and then our cats got sick.
Yes.
Tom, he got really sick, and it was kind of scary. But he ended up being okay, and he's doing fine. He's great now.
Mm-hmm.
But our other cat, Mao, he all of a sudden got kind of sick the other day. I think he's really just constipated. That might be what he has.
Yeah, he has a follow-up tomorrow, so hopefully they're able to see what's really going on with him, because he's doing slightly better, but he's still not. Yeah. He still hasn't really bounced back.
Yeah. He's either constipated or he hurt his leg somehow. Maybe jumping around on the cat tree. But because something, I was like trying to, pet his back area, and he kept like growling at me, which he never does. And he was just acting weird. He was hiding when usually when I come home, he's like a dog. He's like all excited to see me, and he wants to watch Yankee games with me. That's really what we do together when I come home from work. But the past couple of days, I was like, "Where is he?" And then, the first day, he was like hiding, which I thought was really weird. So we're dealing with that right now. But I think he'll be okay. I think when the vets see him, they give him the proper meds. I mean, maybe it could be that he hurt his leg too. I'm not really sure. But anyway, so we've had to deal with a lot of issues like that, a lot of illness. And then, when we were together, it was like we were too tired to do it,
Well, and a lot of times, because I do have 2 jobs, so a lot of times I'm juggling both jobs, and I'm just running back and forth, or if it's not job related, I'm also running errands, and I'm just, going around in circles.
Yeah, just been really busy. And that's the thing. We actually did a false start of this episode. We did a piss take about a month ago.
Yeah, but it wasn't flowing very well.
Yeah, just the vibe wasn't right. I think I was too sleepy. And I was like, no, we have to redo it, because I feel like this episode can be really, really good. So I wanted to make it as perfect as possible.
Yes.
And the reason I'm excited for this film is I think it's a great film.
Despite what a lot of people think about it, especially about the second half of this film, really.
Yeah, I love the whole movie.
Yeah.
And that film that we're talking about today is
Babylon.
Yep, Babylon.
Directed by Damian Chazelle.
Yep, I love that guy.
Well, for me, I have mixed reviews about him, but I do really like this movie.
Right, yeah. Yeah, really, I'm a big Chazelle fan. I pretty much like all his work. So I was really excited to see this movie. I heard he was coming out with a new movie, after La La Land. Well, I guess he did La La Land, and then he did First Man, and then after a few years, and then during the pandemic, I heard he was coming out with his Babylon, and it was about like the silent film era. So it just seemed really interesting, and I really wanted to see what he would do with that. So I saw it in theaters by myself.
Yes, let's just say that I ended up hanging out with a friend for the weekend, and actually, I'm no longer friends with that person. So
yeah.
I could have made a better decision and stayed with Kevin and gone watch Babylon with him.
Sorry, maybe we can see it in a re-release together.
Well, hopefully
they re-released La La Land like a couple months ago, and I wanted to see it, but you didn't want to watch it again.
Well, because that's a whole different story, which you probably heard me on the previous episode say not so great things about it. But when the time comes where we actually do talk about La La Land, I'll bring up all the things that are wrong with that movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, when we actually did both watch La La Land in the theaters, and I came out crying at the end.
Yeah.
But when I look back, there are a lot of wrong things about that movie.
Yeah, I still love the movie. I think it's a great film. And similar to that, like when I was in the theater and the Babylon was finishing, and it hit the very end shot, I was like emotional, kind of. I wouldn't say I was crying per se, but like there was like a sadness to it.
I think it's even sadder than La La Land.
Yeah,
if you ask me.
Yeah. It was. I was like, I was kind of emotional yet uplifted too at the same time. So I saw it when the movie came out, and then I was just in shock that the movie wasn't doing well. I mean, come on, it had stars: it had Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a guarantee that it'll do really well. And honestly, I don't even think they're the ones who even stood out for me in the movie, honestly.
No, it's really Diego Calva's movie, right?
Yes, which, by the way, Diego Calva is a Mexican actor. In reality, he just kind of came out of nowhere, because even in Mexico before Babylon, he wasn't even that big of an actor.
Yeah, it's not like he was freaking Diego Luna or anything. He was like really obscure even in Mexico.
Well, yeah, the only reason why we even knew about him prior to watching Babylon is because he had a supporting role on this Netflix series called Desenfrenadas, which actually the English language title is Unstoppable, which I guess that was the closest thing that they could translate it to. Yes, and it's about, the premise on the series is about three women who are all in their mid-20s. They're either, like at the start of their careers, or one one of them is like, pursuing medicine, because her pretty much that was her father's profession, and he's pushing her to, following his footsteps. But all these three women actually, especially Rocio, which is the one who's the prospective surgeon, because she's actually going in for surgery. Well, that would be her specialty. She realizes that, you know what, maybe I need to take another path. They all just go to Oaxaca on a whim. And on the way to Oaxaca, they find the fourth woman who actually needs help. And in reality, this other woman is so she's being pimped out by her boyfriend Joshua, who is played by Diego Calva. So yeah, you can imagine. I don't want to spoil it too much, even though unfortunately nowadays that Despite the fact that it's a Netflix original, now it's really hard to find it because it did get removed from Netflix a few months ago.
Yeah, which I think is stupid.
Yeah.
They'll probably put it on VeeX or something like that.
I
right?
mean, I would hope so because I actually really liked it, and unfortunately, it got canceled right after that first season.
I really liked the show. I thought it was really good. But one of the actresses, Lucia Uribe, she's like the queen of canceled shows. Like she's like
Yeah, because she had that canceled, and she was on another Netflix series called Todo va a estar bien, or it translates to Everything Will Be Okay, and that also got canceled after the first season.
Yeah. But I really like the show, and that's the thing. I remember, like, we saw that series. We saw it right before the pandemic hit.
Yes, it like right before.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks before. I mean, it had already been going on around like other parts of the world.
Yeah.
But in our area, it didn't hit until mid-March.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that came out in late February.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we were staying at a hotel in Tijuana, and
Nook Hotel.
Yeah, so it's called Nook Hotel, and it was really cool. I thought it was the shit. Like I loved the design and everything.
And it was we stayed opening night.
Yeah.
Because it was the inauguration of the hotel and the adjacent bar.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. Yeah, so our first night there, we watched this Emprendadas, and we thought, oh, cool.
Yeah, because they had smart TVs like in the room, so I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, even though I liked watching, the local, whatever cable that they had, and like, watching like VH1 Classic, on TV, but they didn't have that. They just had smart TVs, but they had Netflix, so we're like, oh, this Empanadas just came out. Let's watch this, and we watched it, and it was a lot better than I was expecting. I was like, oh, this is pretty good, actually, and that's what was interesting. And then I remember watching it, and this guy, Joshua character, you were like saying, oh, this guy's so fucking ghetto. Like
the way that he portrayed his character, I bought it. He really seemed like he was like really this, like he really seemed trashy, honestly.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I remember I heard that during the pandemic. So like the pandemic hits, and then I heard that Damian Chazelle was casting his new movie that he's going to be doing. I saw it on like Variety or on Facebook or something like that. And then I saw that he casted this Mexican actor with the lead part, which I thought was random. I was like, why is he casting some Mexican actor for this? Like, that's weird. And he like kind of plucked him out of nowhere. And then I clicked like the story to see who it was, and then it showed this guy, and I was like, oh, this guy looks familiar. And I was like, oh, that's that guy from that Descent now. That's like the fucking ghetto guy that Aileen hates or whatever.
I mean, I just hated his character, not that I hated the actor.
Yeah, but that was so shocking. I was like, you were even saying like this guy will never act again because you thought he was so ghetto in that. Like, you didn't think he was acting, pretty much.
I think you're stretching it out a bit, but I just thought his character was too much, and honestly, I didn't really like how misogynistic he was. On top of the fact that he was doing illegal activity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess he's a pretty good actor then, because you bought his whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's in this movie, Babylon, and seeing interviews with Chazelle afterwards, like he needed a Mexican actor for this, I guess he just wrote it, based on, his main character is going to be this kind of, Mexican character, and he didn't want anyone too known for the role. So, and then he had to be young-ish, and there really aren't that many, like, somewhat well-known actors or not well-known actors who are that young. You know what I mean? Like, but I saw an interview and Chazelle said that he saw a headshot. Like, he saw Diego Calva's headshot in, like, a stack of all these headshots, and he just saw his, and he's like, oh, he seems good. Let's screen test him. And then he brought him in for a screen test with Margot Robbie, and he killed it, basically. Like, I guess she was doing it with other actors, but she said he was the best one because he was the only one who would like push back on her. Like all the other guys, she was like dominating them, easily, and they were like kind of they would give in to her too easily,
Mm.
But she said he was really good because he was the only one who would like stand up to her, and she's like, "Yeah, that's exactly what we want." You know what I'm saying? We want someone who can believably, like stand up to my bullshit as this character Nellie Leroy.
Well,
right?
which
he does. Right?
Yes, we'll talk about that shortly.
yeah. So, yeah, I was just shocked that it didn't do very well. I mean, maybe it's the silent movie aspect, and people don't like silent movies. And it's a period piece. Maybe people don't like that. I don't know.
I think that's part of it,
Mhm.
but I also looked into it, and Kevin knows that I love going on Reddit to look at,
Yeah,
to read people's perspectives.
much to my dismay.
Yes, well, which you don't even have a Reddit account, do you?
No.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can never find me, I will not say what my username is, but that's all for you to find. It'll be like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
So, well, but trying to go and, like when I go to subreddits about movies or whatnot, and I try to read on what people didn't like about Babylon.
Mm.
I mean, some people will go and they'll be like, I really like this movie. But then in the comments, some people will be like, what I didn't like about this movie was that it was very grotesque. It just felt like there was a lot of disgustingness going on in it. Or some people did say that I didn't like the fact that I had to sit for more than 3 hours to watch this movie when it could have been significantly reduced. Or I didn't even have an issue with it being more than 3 hours long because I felt like it was more fast paced than you would think.
This movie flies by. This is the quickest 3 hours you'll ever spend.
Yeah,
I think watching a movie, like it just goes by so fast. It's just like cool set piece after cool set piece. Yeah. Me. Or were you gonna say something else?
Yes, I was going to say something else actually. Thank you, Kevin, for actually letting me go back to what I was talking about. Oh, which by the way, Kevin tends to interrupt me quite a bit. So this is a rare moment where he lets me go back. So, or at least, consciously. Mm-hmm. So another thing about that a lot of people complain that Babylon is too grotesque of a movie, but this was the Roaring 20s, and we can see that Damien Chazelle was trying to depict this era as closely as possible. So I can definitely see it, even though it does get pretty gross at times, but I can see people really being like that during that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a very decadent era. It was. I guess it was around the same time as the Weimar Republic in Germany. It was like basically the same thing, just in different countries. But I know like Paul Schrader, I guess, didn't like the movie because I saw he tweeted something when it came out, and he was like, "Who the hell did the research for this Babylon?" or whatever. Like he thought it wasn't accurate. But I mean, I saw interviews with Chazelle, and he was saying, "No, I did a lot of research. I read a lot of books for the time period." Which I actually believe. Yeah, and he was saying, "Oh, there was a lot of drugs coming in. It was mingling with the Hollywood scene that was, kind of burgeoning. Yeah, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Before rock and roll." Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, when I walked out of the theaters, like I got that feeling, like when you walk out of a movie and it's like a good ass movie. You know what I mean? Like that's how I felt. I'm like, yeah, like that was a fucking good ass movie. Like I love that. And so to me, this movie is almost like if Pulp Fiction took place in the 20s. You know what I mean? Like as far as being like a LA, based movie with these interlocking stories, kind of, and especially the third act. Like that third act feels very Pulp Fiction to me,
Yeah.
So yeah, so then we can get into describing the film.
Yeah.
I didn't really see a concise Wikipedia description, so we'll forego that this time.
Or, well, yeah. Or if you just want to abbreviate it, however you want to do it.
So, I mean, what is Babylon about? It's about the silent era of film in Hollywood, so it starts off in the late 20s, I guess, 1928.
Yeah.
Or 26, I guess, is when it starts. And then we see just the end of that silent film era, when the jazz singer comes out and ushers in the era of sound film, and it's a real success. A lot of the actors who were big in the silent era couldn't keep up with that, and they just kind of fell by the wayside. Some of these actors, like some of the characters in the film, are based on real actors from that time period who went through depression after they couldn't sustain their careers, and from the transition from the silent era to the sound era, and some of them committed suicide, stuff like that.
Yeah, which I would assume also that the stock market crash didn't help.
Yeah, I'm sure that didn't help the situation. So we see that, and we kind of see it through the eyes of this Mexican character, Manny, and him basically wanting to be part of the film world, and that's his passion. And he's kind of an outsider though, being a random Mexican guy, but it's he loves the art form, and yeah, we see kind of his journey, trying to get into the film industry, and the ups and downs of it, and at the end of the day, him like tapping out of the industry. You know what I'm saying? But I think he still sees the beauty of film at the end of things.
Oh yeah, of course.
So the movie starts, and we see the old school silent film Paramount logo. I think that's pretty cool. With like a sepia tone, like just to give you that silent film.
Like that old school movie.
Yeah, exactly. Chazelle, I've noticed that he likes to play with those studio logos. Like, he also did that in La La Land with the Summit logo. Also had this, like, old school type of look. And I remember, what happened to Summit? The Summit Studios. They were doing a lot of shit at that time.
I don't know.
Did they close down or something?
That's a good thing to look at right now. You know what?
They were doing a lot of good movies at one point. It was like kind of like that Bob Yari entertainment. Like Bob Yari at one point in the mid 2000s, he was like, or the early 2000s, he was kind of running shit, and then all of a sudden he just stopped. I'm not sure what happened. I mean, same thing with Lionsgate. In the 2000s, Lionsgate was on a hell of a run.
Well, I'm looking it up right now, and it looks like they are still around.
They're still around. Well, like, what's the last shit they produced? I feel like I haven't seen. Yeah. Like, I used to see that Summit logo before, like, almost every movie. Like, in the early 2010s and the late 2000s.
They're the ones in Pasadena, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I mean.
So yeah, they were doing a lot of shit. And then so the film actually starts, and we open and we see Bel Air in 1926, and we see like just a dusty road with palm trees. So they had to shoot this somewhere in the desert around LA, right?
Yeah.
Maybe like Lancaster area or something
Probably.
like that. And so we see this old buggy Model T car pull up with like a carriage and stuff, and this big guy comes out. He looks like some Duck Dynasty guy with a beard. He comes out. I was never a big Duck Dynasty guy.
I never cared for it.
He comes out with a clipboard, and he sees Manny, and he's like, "Are you Manuel?" And he tells him that he has to pay for the vehicle and the livestock, and he says, "Put down one horse, write one horse and sign." And he tells him, "Well, it's not a horse, it's an elephant." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "It's an elephant." And he looks down the road, and he sees this other guy with an elephant, and he's freaked out. The big guy, he's freaking out. He tells him, "This is a truck for fucking horses. What do I look like, goddamn Maharaja?" And man, he just tells him to shut up, and he sticks money in his face. And he's like, "Okay, you're invited to the party." And so we cut to, they're trying to get up this hill with the elephant, trying to pull him up in the car, and it's just, they're struggling. So Manny and this other old Mexican guy, they're kind of trying to push the elephant's ass up the hill, but they're really struggling. So the older guy gets out, and he's trying to calm down the elephant. So he like throws hay at him, like he throws hay at his ass to try to calm him down, I guess.
Literally.
Yeah. And man, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like getting pissed off at him, and he's like, "Oh."
Which, by the way, he throws in a lot of phrases in Spanish.
Yeah.
Which he actually did say that in Spanish.
Yeah. I think he improvised all that stuff because I'm sure that wasn't written there. Not in Spanish anyway, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure, but he did a good job of that. I'm sure Chazelle was like, improvise something in Spanish, make it realistic. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Because what does he say? He's like, ¿Qué chingados estás haciendo?
Yeah.
He tells him that, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he said. Yeah,
like, what the fuck are you doing? And, so, yeah, and then this old Mexican guy keeps throwing the hay, and all of a sudden, we get a close-up of the elephant's asshole, and the elephant just shits all over us as the audience. Just all over the camera and all over the guy, all over the older Mexican guy. I think Manny gets like some ricochet of the shit. Some ricochet, but not that badly. But the older guy gets it.
Did he just say ricochet?
Yeah. I guess because it looks like shit, right? But it's French.
Speaking of improvisation.
But it's French, right? So you say ricochet, but it looks like ricochet, like ricochet. And cut to like they get stopped by a cop, and he sees it's an elephant. And it's funny how the cop is like, he's not shocked by the elephant. He's just like, "You got a permit?" And Manny's like, "I didn't think we needed one." And he's like, "You gotta have a permit. Plan to have an elephant." Like the guy is so serious. The cop guy. They're like, it's funny how matter of fact Manny's like, "Shit, well, I don't have a permit," and then the cop is like, "Okay, well, how's the guest looking tonight?" Like he knows it's for a party. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Yeah, well, it'll be at Don Wallach's house," and we cut to like he asks like, "Oh, can I invite my cousin or whatever?" And he's like, "Okay," or whatever. And he's like, "Okay, great." He lives in Reseda or something like that with Ralph Macchio. No.
Really? I mean, I just think it's that Reseda would already.
Yeah, and I feel like there are some anachronisms in this film, like things that like I don't think Reseda was even developed at that time. You know? I
don't think so either. You know what? Maybe I should look that up.
Okay.
See, I feel like I'm the go-to person when it comes to looking things up in the middle of recording. Podcast.
You're the research queen. So they get there, where they get to Don Wallach's mansion with like a caravan of people. Like this is almost like the people coming from Honduras.
Yes. Oh, I know it was really weird. No, Wikipedia just proved me wrong. It was founded in 1912.
Really? What
yes.
the hell? Like, but has there always been like a suburban community or whatever?
I suppose it has
been. Like that's pretty strange. Anyways.
Yeah, because it was devoted to agriculture for many years.
Okay, maybe it was just a farm community at that point.
Yeah.
Then it just turned into a ghetto community after a while.
So once again, this proves that Damian Chazelle did do his research.
There you go. So they get there with this caravan of people, and Don Wallach's henchman security is like, "Who the fuck are all these people?"
No preguntes.
Yeah.
Like don't ask.
That's what Manny says. And then all of a sudden you hear the beat like...
Oh.
Like you hear the music, the score kick in. I mean, I think he's a great composer. What's his name?
Justin Hurwitz, which, by the way, I heard he recently went on tour to perform a lot of the scores that he does.
That's crazy. No, I mean, I think he's great. I love all the scores he's done. I think he's really good. He really writes great melodies. And so, the music kicks in, and we see this chick kind of dancing in a room, and then we see her piss on this fat guy on the floor.
Yeah, she just gave him a golden shower.
Yeah.
Very nice view.
Golden slumbers in your eyes, yeah.
What?
That was a Beatles reference.
I don't know if that really suits here, by the way. I mean, as much as I understand you want to reference the Beatles, but I think it's probably not the right thing.
Okay. I'm sure Paul McCartney doesn't want to be associated with that.
Yeah, he would probably be ashamed if he heard you.
Well, that's part of the grotesque thing you're talking about, right? People were just too grotesque about that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you're a director of that stature, you need to hit the audience hard, like, quickly. That way they know if it's for them or not. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because people, when they see the elephant shitting, they can be like, okay, I'm walking out. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? You can just be like, that wasn't for me. That really set the tone. And, okay, and then if you weren't grossed out by that, okay, are you going to be grossed out by this chick pissing on this fat guy. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if you're grossed out by that, okay, this movie's not for you. You can keep walking out. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like he keeps kind of testing the audience early on. You know, to see if you're up for seeing this. You know. And then we see this big ass party going on at this mansion. It's really roaring 20s. You know what I'm saying? It's it's flappers. It's naked people.
Yeah.
And seems like a fun party actually. And we see this jazz player, Sydney, is his character. And, we kind of see his story. I mean, we see his story in the film, and we see him, playing with his buddies in the band. We see some guy snorting coke off some chick's tits. And then we see Jean Smart's character, Eleanor St. John, and she's like a movie critic for the time. She's like the Ebert of the time, I guess you could say. Manny is like wrestling with a chicken, and he's trying to catch a chicken. Then he goes outside, he smokes a cigarette, and then like this romantic theme kicks in. This Manny and Nellie theme. Yeah, it's a nice little theme, and
which it's pretty much signature Justin Hurwitz.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of reminiscent of La La Land, that melody. Kind of like City of Stars.
It kind of does remind me of it.
Yeah. So it's like if you like La La Land, you'll like that. Musically, anyway. And then all of a sudden, a car crashes out of nowhere into a sculpture on the lawn, and it's Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie comes out, and she plays Nellie Leroy, right?
Yeah.
Which is actually not proper French, right? Because
it would be Le Roi.
Well, not just that, but how she wrote it, it's like La Roy, which it wouldn't be La Roy.
No, it would be Le.
It would be Le Roy because it's masculine. Roy is king.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's Le Roy, not La Roy. So
I guess it just became Americanized.
Yeah, got butchered at Ellis Island or whatever.
Yeah, that's most likely it.
So, she comes in and she's also trying to crash the party, and she's arguing with the security guy, and Manny sees this, and I think he's like, "Oh, she's hot. Let me try to let me try to help her out." So he comes into the scene and he's like, "Nellie Leroy, they're waiting for you." And then she's like, "See?" to the security guy. He's like, "All right, fine, go ahead." And he kind of saves her, and he goes with her. He walks with her, and she tells him. It's kind of funny because she tells him like, "Hey, like, I want to be an actress, like, and you either are a star or you ain't." That's what she says, which comes back later on. And she asks him, she tells him like, "Oh, thanks for helping me. Like, you know where I can find some drugs?" She asks him, and then the jazz players are having a musician conversation. They're having a real argument musically. And in the background, we see a little person jumping on a pogo stick, like with the shape of a penis, like covering the pogo stick.
Oh,
like geez. It's like his costume, and then he like jumps up and he like shoots jizz everywhere.
Thank you for the description.
I thought that was brilliant. I mean, how come? I feel like I haven't seen that. Did they only do that in the 20s or what? Like, I feel like I haven't seen that nowadays,
Yeah, I guess that was that was for the.
That was the heyday of pogo, penis, little person, jizzing.
That's such a weird combination.
Yeah, no, but it's funny that that's in the background while they're having this musician conversation. It's kind of funny. It's jazz with jizz.
Okay.
Okay, and then we see that fat guy who, with the girl who was pissing, and she's on the floor, passed out. She might be dead. So they're like, "Oh shit." He's like, "What the hell do I do?" And then we cut to, and we see Brad Pitt outside in a car.
Well, actually, you just spoiled that because they at first don't show his face. They just they just see a married couple. Yeah. So outside you see a married couple arguing in their car. And the man insists that he's speaking to his wife in Italian, and she hates it. She's like, stop pretending to be Italian. You need to stop speaking the language, like
Yeah.
And he insists on speaking Italian, so she said, if you speak one more word in Italian, I'm going to divorce you.
Mm-hmm.
So then.
And he's quiet.
He's quiet for a bit.
And then she smiles at him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he starts speaking Italian again.
And she's like, all right. He's like, yeah. Like, she's just done with him. She's completely done.
Fuck you. I'm leaving you. She smacks him and leaves the car. Leaves in the car. She takes off and leaves him there standing. And so that is Brad Pitt.
Yes.
Who plays Jack Conrad.
So his and the woman who plays his wife, the actress, is Olivia Wilde. Right?
Yeah, it's a nice little cameo from the director of Booksmart, right?
Yeah. Interesting, I guess.
Yeah, Olivia Wilde. We were talking about her earlier, weren't we?
Well, briefly, because we were talking crap about Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, we were.
Yes, and
you guys already know the whole drama, right?
Yeah, which I assume mostly everybody does by now. And if you don't, just Google it.
yeah, exactly. So Jack goes into the party and he hobnobs. Everybody loves him. He's the man of the hour, So his career is riding high at this point. You can see that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see some fat guy with a penis drawing on his torso, and he's like kind of running around. It's like, okay, there's a lot of penis imagery in this.
And why?
Yeah. And then Jack is sitting at a table, and the waitress tries to get his attention by like rubbing her tits in his face or whatever. Like she kind of leans across him and like just like he's sitting there and it's just like whoa. And he orders. He's like, you know how to make a corpse survivor, which has a dash of absinthe. He tells her. I guess they had a lot of absinthe back in the day.
Oh, that was big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It somehow died over time. I guess.
Well,
because people died. I guess that's why.
I heard it doesn't taste good.
I'm sure.
I heard
but
that.
But it's less like a forbidden thing, I think that's why people like it.
Yeah, I guess so. From what I heard in more recent times, is that absinthe tastes horrible.
Yeah.
And that even goes for people who like to regularly drink.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would probably hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would especially hate it, which, by the way, nowadays, I hardly ever drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still drink a little. Like, I'll have at least a beer a week. One.
Yeah, no, I feel
every
like...
Thursday is Thirsty Thursday. Celebrating the end of the work week, maybe the next day. And I have a beer. I had a nice Radler the other night. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I actually did take a sip.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
It's pretty good.
But other than that...
Shout out to Aldi. We need to get more Radlers. Good Radlers.
Yes, bring back that Bitburger Radler. Yeah. That one was really good.
Yeah.
But I only saw it... I was like, there one day, gone the next day.
Yeah.
So
that was very limited supply.
I don't know what happened. And even then, I would think Bevmo would have it, but I haven't even had the chance to even go to Bevmo. Like I said, I hardly ever drink. Why would I even go to Bevmo?
Well, you can get me some.
Okay.
Or Schoferhofer. Schoferhofer's hella good. I love Schoferhofer.
Okay, sure.
I'm a hoe for Schofer.
Weird. Okay. But yes.
So anyway, Jack is at the table having his corpse reviver, which I think is a cool name for a chick. And Jack is told that his buddy is in the car threatening to kill himself because of a girl. And so Jack has to go, like, talk him off the roof. And that buddy is George, and he's played by the young man who was in when he was a little kid in Witness, in the Harrison Ford film. What's his name? He was one of Leonardo DiCaprio's friends.
Why
am I blanking on his name? He was in Inception. He was in that beginning part of Inception where they're having a dream and he's like in Lebanon or something like that.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, I really like him as an actor, especially when he was younger. he's getting kind of old. He doesn't even really get that many parts, honestly. But I always liked him as an actor. What's his name? I have a hard time finding his name. Yeah, he's not. I'm looking on IMDb, and he's not on this. He's not in the main part, really.
Well, because he's probably not actually considered part of the main.
I didn't realize Albert Hammond Jr. is in this. Like he has a cameo, I guess.
Oh.
He's in the party scene. Oh, Lucas Haas. So Lucas Haas plays George.
That was Lucas Haas?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you didn't realize that?
No.
Because he looks old and different now,
Yeah.
But he was a kid. He did a lot of good work as a kid. He was in Witness. He played the little Amish kid in Witness. Yeah, he was good. So anyway, so he plays Jack's buddy George, and he has a lot of girl problems, and he's like kind of suicidal because of that. He's like Sean Kingston, and you'll have me suicidal when you say it's over. From the song. Sean Kingston is in some heat right now. Because him and his mom have been doing like fraud or whatever.
Yeah, that is just really weird. Yeah. I was not expecting him.
No, me neither. I thought he was talented. But people want to, keep their money up. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. If you're not having hits, it's like, where do you get money from?
Well, sometimes you just have to do honest work, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's really weird considering that he actually did appear on a Yo Gabba Gabba episode.
Right.
So, kids, hey, yeah, exactly. You want to set a good example for them.
Yeah. So, anyway, we cut to Nellie and Manny talking in the drug room. And he's like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. He's like, we have this, we have this. And he's like, and that chair was, like, set on, like, King Louis the 14th or something like that. And, she tells him to snort cocaine. He's like, okay. Like, I think he's just like, I'll do whatever you want. I'll do whatever drug you want. Yeah, like, let me hang out with you,
Mm-hmm.
And so they're having this conversation, and she asks him, like, where would you want to go? Like, if you could go anywhere, where would you want to go? And he says, he's like, I always wanted to be on a movie set, and she's like, yeah? And he's like, yeah, like, I love movies. He's like, I've always wanted to be on a set and be a part of something, like something that means something. He says that. He's like, I want to be part of something important. And he's like, I just love movies. And she's like, yeah, I love movies too. And they really, bond over that. And he's like, yeah, I love it because you can die, but you're not really dead. Like, he says that. And like, you see the spark, the chemistry between them and like the spark in their eyes when they're talking about film, and it's like, it reminds me of me trying to talk about film with people,
No, he really did remind me of you.
Yeah, like the passion that he speaks with. And then, and then she's like, maybe you could be an actor too. She's like, you're not bad looking. That's what she tells him. And then he's like, thank you. Like he doesn't know what to make of it or whatever. And then we see this Chinese young woman. Her name is Lady Fei Zhu, and she does a song for the crowd there, and it's called "My Girl's Pussy," is what it's called. And
nice title.
Yeah, there's some double entendres there, and maybe single entendres there too. She goes to one of the tables, and it's like Kaya Gerber is sitting there, and she like kisses her, and everyone's like, ooh, like everyone freaks out. Yeah, it's a cool little performance. And then after that, so Jack walks up to Faye, and he's like, oh, like, can you flirt with my friend George, like, just make it feel special. You don't have to sleep with him or whatever. And she's like, okay, sure. She sees him, and then he makes him happy with her, and then Nellie goes to the dance floor with Manny, and she starts dancing sexily, and he's just like standing there. He's like, okay, like, what do I do? Okay. And she's like, grinding and stuff. And then she kisses some random long haired dude on the floor, and then she falls on the floor, and she lays on that DW sign, like it shows her like with the light, like shining on her, and that's like a popular still that you see from the movie.
Oh yeah.
You see that shot a lot. Like if you Google Babylon, you're gonna see that shot pop up.
Yeah, it's where she's laying down and she has a cigarette in her mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you see that DW, which I think they actually shot that at like DW Griffith's mansion or something like that, but they changed that to Don Wallach.
Oh yeah.
Just to fit the movie. And then she gets up and stands still. And then she kind of does this move. It's like kind of a weird move that she does. Like it's almost like too choreographed. I thought, like it didn't seem natural. And then she crowd surfs, and everyone's like, and then all of a sudden we see a member of Red Hot Chili Peppers comes out of nowhere and grabs Manny, and that member is not Anthony Kiddis, as Chris would say.
Well, I don't understand why Chris pronounces it that way.
Kiddis. No, it's Flea, bassist from Red Hot Chili Peppers, acts in this film, and he comes out of nowhere and grabs Manny, and he takes him to the room where the girl was pissing on the guy, and she's like ODing. They need to get her to the hospital, but they don't want to scare people carrying out this dying girl, They don't want to scare the crowd. Even though I don't think they'd really notice, at a party like this.
Yeah,
I don't think they would notice that.
There are so many people doing who knows what that they probably wouldn't notice.
Yeah, I really don't think so. Like, I remember how there was always, like, people getting taken away at Coachella. People just being dragged or whatever.
Yeah, because people would collapse from heat exhaustion.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, well, they're gone. Just carry on with the rest of your day. And then, so they're like, how do we do this? How do we get this girl? And then Manny suggests that they use the elephant to distract the crowd while they carry her out and take her to the hospital. And so that's what they end up doing. People are dancing, the band is playing, then all of a sudden this elephant comes out, and they're like, oh my god, an elephant, or whatever. Like, oh, that's so cool. And then they drag the girl out. But I guess that chick, she was supposed to be the actress in the shoot the next day. The ODing chick.
Oh, yeah.
So they're like, okay, just get any girl. That's what they tell her. Get any girl for the film. So Flea goes out, and he tries to pick a girl at random from the party. But every girl he sees is either, like, boning or doing something weird or doing drugs or something like that. But then he sees Nellie. She's, like, the only one who's relatively normal. And he's like, that girl. Get that girl for the movie. Or whatever. So he tells his boys to grab her. And, they come up to her and they're like, here you go. They tell her she should get some sleep because she's expected on set in a few hours. And Manny offers his, like, gopher services to Flea on the set too, but he basically was like, no, we're good. He declines his gopher services. And I love the shot of her running out. So when she gets the offer for the gig, and we see her running out like the corridor, and she runs outside, and it's daytime already. Like, I love that. Like, I really like that shot. And she throws her like hat or something. She throws it as she runs out, and they bring that shot back in the climax of the film at the end, And she says something like, "Kiss my Angelino hooch," or whatever. Which I don't know. Was that a thing? Was Angelino a thing at the time?
I didn't think so.
I felt like that came about later, Yeah. Angelino. And then hooch, I don't even know if that was a thing either. I thought hooch was alcohol. When did hooch become cooch or whatever? Because I think that's what she meant, right? Yeah. And then Manny, he's like in awe of her, So he tells her, he says, Nelly, creo que te amo. That's what he says to her.
Yes, which, by the way, he tells her, Nelly, I think I love you.
Yeah.
But in the subtitles, which they actually show whenever Manny speaks Spanish, that was badly translated because they translated to, I think, I'm in love with you.
Right.
Being in love is not the same thing as loving someone, by the way. At least not necessarily. So, Paramount, I don't know, or whoever decided to hire to do the subtitles could have done a better job.
Yeah. They should hire you for that. You would love to do that, right?
I personally would.
Yeah, well, he says that to her in Spanish, and she doesn't understand shit that he's saying. You know what I'm saying? She's just like blowing his ass off, And she's like, all right, I gotta go. So she drives off and crashes into some other shit behind her, like backs up, and then she just drives off. And Manny's just like, wow, like he's just like in awe of her. And then all of a sudden we hear some guy. He says, Chico, Jack Conrad's passed out. Use one of Wallach's cars to take him home. And he's like, oh, okay. So like, he's like, that's cool. I get to take Jack Conrad home. I get to drive him home. So he takes Jack home, and Jack gets home and he's drunk, and he puts on some Italian opera, like a record of that, and Jack asks Manny why the lonely man goes to the movies. And he's kind of like, I don't know, he kind of doesn't know what to make of that. And he's like, we gotta innovate, we gotta inspire, Jack is really trying to push cinema forward, believe it or not, But kind of in doing that, it kind of killed his career, left him behind, sound was an innovation that, ended up killing his career, really, so, in a way, it was bad that he wanted to innovate. Well, it's, if you innovate, you gotta make sure that you can still do shit, when that happens. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Oh, and actually, going back to the term Angelino, actually, now that I'm looking it up, it says that the first known use of Angelino in print was in the mid 19th century, in 1857, according to Merriam-Webster. It says the Oxford English Dictionary notes that the first use in print of a word denoting a resident of Los Angeles appears in California of the South, published in English in 1888.
Wow.
So, once again, this proves us wrong.
Yeah. Chazelle really did his research. But I think I found something a little bit later that he got wrong.
Oh, okay. And I will look it up too.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay, we'll get to it.
So Jack falls back, like, off his Spanish roof, like he falls backwards and falls into the pool. Luckily he didn't die, and Manny is scared because he sees his lifeless body in the pool. Like, he looks over and just sees like this dead floating body in the pool. But then suddenly Jack gets up and he gets out of the pool and he's like, I'm going to bed. And while he's in bed, he tells Manny he likes him. He's like, hey, I like you. He's like, I want you to take me to set next morning. And so he's like, oh, great. Like, this is my dream. Like, this is going to be my dream. I get to be on a movie set, And he asks him, have you ever been on a movie set? And he's like, no. And he's like, it's the most magical thing in the world. And he's like, oh, okay, So it's like he gets to accomplish his dream that he just said the night before to Nellie, And then right after that, you hear some loud thing, and we finally see the title card of the movie, Babylon. We finally see that. Yeah. 31 minutes into the movie. 31 minutos into the movie.
But by the way, Kevin is mentioning 31 minutos is a Chilean puppet show. Which, it's, I personally think is great.
It's like a Chilean Muppets, right? Meets Yo Gabba Gabba, kind of.
Well, I guess if you want to describe it that way, but it has it has an endless list of characters, because it really has a lot of characters. But I mean, it has, like and even then the main ones, there's still kind of a lot. And, this really has become a phenomenon over the years.
Yeah.
Last year, while I was in Mexico City for the summer, I got to see the exhibit at the Franz Mayer Museum, which was really cool.
Yeah, lucky.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And I have a small collection of some of the books. I'm still trying to collect more because I saw that they released some coloring books. So yeah. If you can, it's on YouTube. They have a lot of episodes on YouTube, so do look it up.
Yeah.
And I know that it was on Netflix in some countries, so wherever you are, try to look for 31 minutos, which means they're 31 minutes. Because actually the show started as a parody to 60 Minutes.
But with puppets. It's a cool show. It's very big in Latin America. So yeah, 31 minutes into the movie, we see the title card. You like that though, right?
Yeah, I personally really like it when the title sequence doesn't come up till way later.
I think, believe it or not, this is not the longest wait for that. Yeah. I think the record belongs to the Japanese film Bright Future with Tadanobu Asano, and actually that was directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, actually, who did like Cure and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's a very respected Japanese director, but one of his more obscure movies is Bright Future, which came out like in 2005, I think. It's kind of hard to find. They don't have it on Criterion. I have the DVD, which I'm lucky that I have that, but you don't see the title card for that until like the very end. You know, the movie is like basically coming to an end, and then all of a sudden you see a subtle Bright Future in the corner. Yeah, so yeah, I think that has the record. But yeah, it's cool that it kicks in so late, right? And then after we see that title card, we see everyone, like all the main characters, like individual struggles. You know, Nellie wakes up hungover after 2 hours of sleeping. That fucking sucks. Like, doesn't it suck when you get like 2 hours of sleep? You're fucking hurting that morning. But
I mean, nowadays it does. When I was younger, I was able to stay up all night and have no major issues. But now, even if I just lose a couple hours of sleep, I'll be suffering the next day.
Sucks. Yeah. Yeah, and then we see Faye's family, and they're having an argument with some white guy or whatever. Like, I think it's like a laundry business that they have. And,
well, I mean, that's a huge stereotype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they bring her out, and he sees her, and he's like in awe of her, or whatever. He's like in love with her, so like she signs an autograph for him, and it kind of she gets him off their asses, you know. And then Sydney, the jazz player, he goes home, and he just sleeps on 2 chairs. Like, that's his bed, just 2. He sits on, you know, puts his ass on one and his feet on another chair, and then he just puts like his hat over his head, and that's how he goes to sleep. That's pretty bad. But that's the starving artist life, you know what I mean? Yeah. Especially at that time, you know, it was really you did things for the love of it, not for the money, you know.
Oh yeah, of course.
And
even nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, nowadays a lot of people, you know, they don't have that dedication. You know what I'm saying? They're not willing to sleep on a chair for your art. You know what I mean? You want to get money fast.
Yeah, but I mean, it depends, really.
I mean, I haven't seen that dedication lately. You know what I'm saying? And then Jack wakes up Manny. Jack is the one who wakes up Manny. And he's like ready to go. He like throws water in his face, like, "Well, let's go," you know. And Manny's like hurting, like shit, like fucking tired, you know. But Jack's like, "Let's go." I mean, Jack's used to it because he's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And then Nellie gets to set at 8 a.m. She gets to her set, and the PA grabs her, and we see everything they're shooting on the lot. Like, we see all these different things that they're working on. There's like some blackface in the scene. Soldiers fighting in Africa. They're making like Chinese movies there. You know, they have like black people working on the set and stuff, and they're like musicians and stuff there too. So you can see that it was actually pretty diverse at the time. Like there was a lot of people of color working on and off the set. It wasn't until a little bit, you know, when the sound came in and more money came in that things got more conservative and segregated, you know? So, yeah, and then there's some guy, he's like selling peanuts on set, and he sees Nellie, and he's like, "Hey, like, are you new here?" He's like, "Okay, your first bag's free," and he gives it to Nellie, and she opens a peanut, and there's a pill in there, or whatever. So, he's actually like the drug dealer guy, or whatever. But it's weird how the thing, how he cut, you could tell he cut, and it was fake. There's no way he had the pill in there, but you know how he cut it, he made it seem like she cracks open and there's a pill in there. Like, oh my god. And they take Nellie to the director, who's a woman, actually, and that's actually Chazelle's wife in real life.
Yeah.
The woman there, yeah. And she has a cameo in La La Land, too. She's the one who's, like, waiting for her coffee from her.
Oh, yeah. She's so annoying.
Yeah. And in this, she's kind of annoying, too.
Yeah, I agree. She is.
Sorry, no offense, dude.
Or to her.
Or to her, yeah. It's your characters, really. And she's like, "Who the hell's this? Where's the girl with the tits?" Or whatever. Like, cause when they bring Nellie and then they ask, we see, we juxtapose her first day on set with Manny's first day on set, and they ask him, "Do you have experience with strikes?" And he's just like, "Yes." I'm sure that's a real stretch, his experience with strikes. Like, he was probably part of one before. And they're like, "Okay, well, these are all junkies from Skid Row. Deal with them," or whatever. So, I mean, Skid Row, wasn't Skid Row developed after that?
Is that what you wanted?
No, but it's something that also came to my mind. Skid Row. Like, were there already homeless, crazy, drugged out people on Skid Row at that time? Because that's what he says. He's like, "These are all junkies from Skid Row. Deal with them." Because watching that Hotel Cecil documentary, I don't remember. I thought it was developed after that. Skid Row. Like, it turned into that later.
Well, see, here's the thing. And this is according to Wikipedia. I don't know about other sources because anyone can edit Wikipedia, even though actually...
Wikipedia is 100% right.
I don't know about that. Well, even though when I've tried to edit something...
They don't let you, right?
No, because they block my IP address.
See, that's bullshit.
It is really. It's so stupid. Okay, but what I'm saying is that it has been known for its condensed homeless population since at least the 1930s.
So that was a little bit after. I mean, this is supposed to be 1926 or whatever. So yeah. So that he got wrong, right?
Even though, yes, I mean, I'm assuming. Let me look into it just a little bit more. I mean, even though it says that there has been it has some history starting from the late 19th century. So
Skid Row?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because there started to be a number of residential hotels opening in the area. Right. Yes. Okay. So actually, I guess Skid Row did start there because it says by the 1930s. It doesn't say that it started in the 1930s. Right. It said by the 1930s, Skid Row was home to as many as 10,000 homeless people. Or houseless people.
Okay. Well, maybe that is accurate.
Yes.
Damn it, Chazelle.
And there are sources to this, so it's not like they're just BSing.
Damn you, Chazelle, you strike again. I think I'll get you on this next one, though. Okay.
You're kind of sounding like groundskeeper Willie when he's cursing Skinner.
Damn you, Skinner. You used me, Skinner. You used me.
We always get really random here. We'll talk about The Simpsons.
Yeah, we're going to have our Simpsons only podcast sometime. It's just going to be all Simpsons all the time. Okay, so Spike Jonze is in the film. He plays a German director. He's the one on Manny's set. He's the director of that set. And so there was a lot of directors from Germany at that time, even before World War II. They were coming in the 10s, 20s, directing films because they were making films in Germany. They were making silent films, and the Hollywood producers were like, "Oh shit, these films are the shit. Like, we need to get some of these guys." So they brought in those guys. You know, they brought in F.W. Murnau and some other guys. I guess Pabst, G.W. Pabst or whatever. Like, they brought in all these guys with acronym names. This is like Gustav Wilhelm or whatever, GW for short, and F.W. Murnau, Franz Wilhelm. So Spike Jonze, he's playing this German director, and then so to deal with the Skid Row crazy people, this in the background. Manny grabs a gun and he's on horseback and he looks like Emiliano Zapata. He starts shooting the gun. He's like, "Yeah, cabrón." And he scares all the junkies into working, basically. And so the film, it's like a Middle Ages picture. It's like they're all fighting with chainmail and stuff like that. And you can see these guys, they're fighting for real. And this is like how they used to do it. They had to have actual extras. You know, there was no CG at that time. There was no CG in the 20s. You know, no matte paintings or whatever. Like, you needed actual people
Oh yeah.
for these parts, so that's why you needed a shitload of extras. And then, yeah, they're really throwing, you know, spears at each other, and people are getting really hurt, you know, on this film. Like, and some guy dies or whatever. He has like a spear through his chest. There's one guy, and they're kind of looking around at him, like Lucas Haas, George is looking at him, and the other guys are looking at him. And then one guy was like, "Well, he did have a drinking problem." That's what he says. And they're like, "Oh, so he might have ran into it himself." That's what he says. And then Jean Smart is like dictating to a secretary what she sees on set. She's like looking over with the opera glasses, like, "Oh, look at the actors running and jumping," and then she's telling the chick to type, and she's like, "This is fucking shit," you know, like off record. She says that, and then Manny, he gives a coffee to Irving Thalberg, character played by Max Minghella, your boy.
It, for those of you who are not familiar with him, oh god, he sometimes plays the most annoying characters.
Well, I mean, he was annoying in Social Network, but I still thought he did a great job in that.
Yeah,
which is it's a great film.
I think in the worst one is in the Internship.
I think he's fucking hilarious.
I could not stand him in it.
He plays this like pretentious British dude or whatever, and then you know, Internship's pretty damn funny. Come on, it's pretty damn funny.
Yeah, but he was such a bully, and I'm sorry, but I don't have any sympathy for this.
No, I mean neither do I, but I just thought he was funny. I thought his character was funny. And then and if you haven't seen the Internship, they go into these teams to compete. Who's gonna win? Like the Google, like who'll get hired by Google, basically. You know, and everyone thinks they're a genius and stuff. And then you know Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson are part of one team of like kind of slackers and nerds and stuff. And then Max Minghella is part of the good team, but he has like this big guy on his team. There's a part where he keeps calling the guy fat or whatever. Right?
See, like I don't think that's funny, and I'm sorry, but that's just bullying, and this comes from an educator, and you know, I just as an educator, I do not tolerate bullying in any form.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they wouldn't do this now. When did that movie come out? 2010, 2011?
Maybe it was sometime in the early 2010s.
Yeah, maybe they wouldn't emphasize this fat aspect so much, but he was looking at the guy because the fat guy is not keeping up or whatever, and he's like, so fat, or whatever. Like, you think he's gonna cut, but he just dwells on the shot, stays on him saying, so fat.
Okay, alright. I think I need some of you to give feedback on it, but I just feel like that's very politically incorrect, on top of the fact that I don't think that's funny.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Making fun of, you know, because he was making fun of his appearance.
Yeah. They wouldn't do that nowadays. They would do it in early 2010s, but probably not now.
Even then, that wasn't that long.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, but it just shows you how far we've come from then. So anyway, so Manny gives a coffee to him, Max Minghella, who plays Irving Thalberg, and he's like the studio head, or whatever. He's one of the studio heads. And he gives him the coffee, and he's like trying to impress him, you know? Yeah. And then he just says, gracias. And he takes the coffee, and Manny is like offended by that. Like, he doesn't like that. He speaks to him Spanish, and he doesn't like that. And then Jack has this fake nose, and he's putting it on, and he's making a phone call to try to make deals and try to cast another movie. And then, you know, because this is like an epic, you know, Middle Ages war film. There's horses running around, and then the horse knocks down the camera, and it breaks or whatever. So they need to get another one. And so they're like, "Hey, Miguel, go get a new camera," or whatever. And he's like, "Man, what, actually?" You know? So he's like, "Okay, you need to go here and get a camera." And he's like, "Okay, sure." He just wants to help out the team, so he goes, he hauls ass to get the camera, and then on Nellie's side, we see her about to do her scene, and it's her at a bar, and she flirts with these bearded men, these other like Duck Dynasty looking dudes, and
more of those.
Yeah, and she tells the bartender she's like, Santa, get me wet, or whatever. She starts taking shots, and she gives guys other shots, and she kisses some guy, and she sticks her hand down his pants, stuff like that. And the director, the Chazelle's wife, is like, okay, like keep going. She's like, she's into it, I guess. And we juxtapose that with Manny hauling his ass to get the camera. He's driving through trees and shit. And here, what's interesting is, so we see Jack on the phone, and he's telling dialogue, because he's saying, okay, and then he says, hasta la vista, motherfucker, and frankly, Scarlett, you're a cunt. That's what he says. I guess that's gonna be the dialogue. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's my anachronism. So motherfucker, they say motherfucker a lot here, but from what I know, motherfucker didn't really come out to like the 50s or whatever, because it was like in jazz lingo. So but later jazz. I don't think it was that early. So in the 20s, were they saying motherfucker?
Let me look that up.
Okay. See if I can get Chazelle. Because Spike Jonze also says motherfucker. He's like, come on, motherfucker. And what's the verdict?
History and popular culture, the word dates back at least to the late 19th century.
What?
In an 1889 Texas murder case, a witness testified that the victim had called the defendant a goddamn motherfucking bastardly son of a bitch shortly before his death.
What the fuck? What the hell? Damn it! Yes. I thought motherfucker didn't come out till way later. From what I heard, I didn't hear about this West Texas shit, whatever the fuck. But that's a pretty cool line, though. That should be like an album title. Wow. That's pretty cool. I gotta write that down.
Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing.
Okay. Damn you, Chazelle. You got me again. Okay.
Once again, groundskeeper Willie to Principal Skinner.
Yes, good Chanel. Yes, good me. But there you go. He did his fucking research. I mean, you can't knock his hustle. Come on, Schrader. Give him some fucking credit. Yeah, so Spike Jonze cussing out his cast and crew. Manny gets to the camera shop, and the clerk is this weird guy, which is great casting by Chazelle. He picked the perfect guy, perfect weirdo guy. And so Manny has to wait 30 minutes for the camera to come back, the 2709 Bell and Howell or whatever. Mm-hmm. I would always see those. When I would go to like thrift stores, I always saw Bell and Howell cameras there, 8mm cameras and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that was a real brand. And the cast and crew are just sitting down, kind of waiting to shoot. And then Jean Smart, Marcy and John character, she asks some guy, like, are you married? And he's like, wife's dead. And she's like, oh, dreadfully sorry. Like, it's just a nice little piece of humor, dark humor. And then the camera comes back to that store, the camera rental store, and he says he needs to be in Simi Valley in 20 minutes. Which Simi Valley, by the way, that's where all the cops live. They all live at Simi Valley.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So he says he needs to be in Simi Valley in 20 minutes, and he sees some old school ambulance across the street, and he's like, I have an idea, whatever. And then we see Samara Weaving. She's acting in the film that Nellie's doing. So Samara Weaving, I forgot what her character is in this film, but she's acting opposite. She's like really the star of that film that Nellie is doing, but Nellie is like stealing the show. So it's like she's really the one. Constance Moore, that's her character. Mm-hmm. So she's really supposed to be the star of it, but Nellie's really stealing the show. So Samara Weaving walks in, and they don't expect Nellie to be a good actress at all. She's like she can't cry on demand. She's just a fucking drunk girl they found at the party or whatever, But so they shoot the scene, and she's able to cry on command. Like they're like, oh shit, this girl knows what she's doing.
Is it called cry on command or cry on cue?
Well, you could say it either way. I guess cry on cue.
Okay.
And Spike Jones on his set, he's crying, he's sad, and he apologized to God for squandering the light, that he gave. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, God, to ruin the light, the beautiful light that you gave us, or whatever. And then you start hearing some sirens, and he's like, what's this bullshit? And then we see that it's Manny driving in this ambulance or whatever. So that's how he was able to haul ass, because he stole that ambulance and he was able to just cut through traffic and stuff. Not that I would expect there to be a lot of traffic. This is the fucking 20s. I don't expect.
Yeah, but the roads are probably a lot smaller.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So he just hauled ass in that ambulance. And then we cut back to Nellie's set, and they keep doing the take where where Constance Moore walks in and opens the door into the bar, and she sees Nellie on top of the bar, and the director gives her very specific instructions to cry. And then Constance asks the director, like, "Oh, any notes for me?" And she's like, "Yeah, you're fine." And then the look that Samara Weaving gives is hilarious. Like she's perfect as like a 20s stick up her ass actress. So she's perfect for that. And then on the war film, Jack stumbles out of his tent drunkenly. He's like, "Oh my god!" And he's having a hard time keeping his balance. And then it's magic hour now, right? We know what that means, right? So that means when the sun has pretty much set, but there's still some light. And that's considered the best lighting. That's why they call it that. That's why they call it magic hour. And then now it's kind of trendy. Now you hear people.
Is it magic hour or golden hour?
Well, you could call it either way. I mean, I guess golden hour too. Maybe they call it that more now, but it was historically called magic hour. So yeah, like that's it's kind of been trendy nowadays. Like people now have realized, oh, that's like what movies do to get like beautiful lighting, and you can do it in like sunrise and sunset, because it basically has that same look. And so they're trying to get Jack up the hill, and they're struggling, and you can see the silhouette of them like on the hill, and it almost reminds you of The Seventh Seal, the Bergman film, another Bergman reference of them like trying to have them on the hill, like kind of frolicking on the hillside, and we see their black silhouettes. It's like the same thing, but they're pushing a drunk guy up this hill, Yeah, and so they're pushing him up, and then he's about to do the scene, and everybody looks on, and they focus on Manny looking at that scene. Like Manny's like really like invested. He's really looking at the action. He's like, oh my god, like this is it. Like this is the magical scene. Like this is cinema. That's why they focus on it, because that's really what he's kind of thinking in his head. Like, oh my god, I get to see this. This is the magic of cinema. So, and then Jack walks in, and then he like keels over, like he's about to throw up or whatever. But then he gets back up, and then you see this chick is like his queen or whatever in the scene. And Spike Jones, the director, he's like, okay, cue the live music. And then so we see there's a symphony there playing the music for the scene. It's like, oh, that's dope. Like the fact that it's live. You know what I mean? I mean, like Wong Kar-wai, he'll play music on the set, but this is live music. You know what I'm saying? This is having the mamas and papas there on the set singing, while Faye Wong is in the diner. You know what I'm saying?
Which, by the way, if you haven't watched Chungking Express, please do.
Yeah, you must be living under a rock if you haven't seen.
Yeah, and actually haven't watched it on the big screen a few years ago.
Yeah, it was great. In New York, right?
No less.
Yeah, exactly. It was during like the re-release of those. It was like Wong Kar-wai week, and we were lucky to see Chungking. I wanted to see all of them, but we didn't have time.
No, I mean when you only have 1 week in New York, it's just never enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And on the other set, Nellie's set, the set catches fire. Fire starts going off, but the director wants to keep shooting. She's like, no, just keep shooting, and then Nellie, she cries like the perfect final tear. Yeah. And they get it, and then we see Jack on his set, he kisses the queen, he embraces her, and then a butterfly comes and lands on his shoulder. and they're trying to show like that's the magic of cinema. Like you can't predict something like that when you're in nature. You don't expect something like that. You can't do that with CGI. I mean, you can, but it doesn't have the same
no,
feel.
it definitely doesn't.
That's and Manny sees it live. It's the magic of cinema. They print the film, we see it go through the reel, and then Spike cuts, and he's like, cut, and he's like, yeah, he's like, he could see that was so beautiful, and then both crews cheer, like the crew on Nellie's side and the crew on Manny's side, like, and then Manny starts to cheer too. He's like, and then we see Don Wallach come to set. We kind of saw him a little bit at the party. So Don Wallach is played by a random actor, Jeff Garland plays Don Wallach.
Well, I don't think he's that random. More like he just, I don't know. He's had a weird career.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think he's random. I think they just wanted a guy who kind of looks like Harvey Weinstein. And so they're like, who can we get who kind of looks like him but isn't him to freak everyone out? And he's impressed by Nellie. He sees her acting, crying, and he's like, "Who the fuck is that?" He's like smoking a cigar or whatever. And then Lady Faye, she asks who's writing the titles for this, because she writes a lot of the movie titles at that time, and then the director, after everything's cut, she walks up to Nellie and she's like, "How do you keep crying like that?" And Nellie's like, "I just think of home," and then cuts. And you want to take a break?
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe we might have to pick this up like another time, right?
But let's see how I'm feeling in a few minutes.
Okay, we'll take a break. Thank you. We'll be right back.